Coming to you live from my apartment. It's the Saturday Night Live recap, and now here are the two guys who just picked up some boat gas money on the way here tonight. I'm Rob Cesternino, and here he is. It's Rich Tackenberg.
Hello, Rob. So good to see you.
Yes, Rich Tackenberg. Oh, yes. Oh, it just made $300 million. Yes. Rich, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. So fun to be back. So happy to be here talking about SNL again.
Yes, very excited to be back here to talk about the season 40 premiere of Saturday Night Live here on Saturday Night Live here on Sunday night, and this will be the new day of the week for the Saturday Night Live recap, and hopefully the time will be a little earlier in the night to get to talk about Saturday Night Live.
Yes. Well, since we spoke last about the season finale of season 39, I just have been sitting quietly right here at my table, day after day, week after week, waiting for this moment where we're back again. So my ass is a little chapped, but I'm very excited that we're back on again. I'm ready to go.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear you're into the ass stuff already. Great.
There's a lot of ass stuff to cover today, yes.
Oh, my God. All right. Anyway, so we've got a lot to talk about here tonight. Chris Pratt, musical guest Ariana Grande. Rich, did you know that she's actually the sister of Big Brother contestant Frankie Grande? Did you know that?
I do. Rob, I feel like you and I just spoke constantly throughout the summer, but it was because I was listening to your Big Brother podcast in the car, and I was screaming at you and Brian and everyone else at the dashboard. So, but I very much enjoyed your coverage. It was really fun.
You were screaming at me.
There were times where you guys had theories that didn't jive. You may not know this. I can be a little bit of a know-it-all.
Oh.
So there were times where I disagreed with your guys' analysis, but I'm very happy how it ended, and you guys did such a great job, and I loved the final interview. So it was a great way to spend the summer. All
right, good stuff. Very excited to get back into Saturday Night Live, and of course, the reason why we do this live is so we can hear from you guys. We've got the chat room going on, robhasawebsite.com. Plus, we are also monitoring Twitter. Scott St. Pierre is here with us following your tweets. You can send in your tweets to the show using our hashtag PSRecaps, and also on our YouTube channel, you can post your questions for us to answer during the show at postshowrecaps.com/YouTube. And Scott, if people have questions on the various sketches that we're going through, send me a GChat message and let me know when to bring questions in, so we could talk about and get your thoughts on the sketches as we go along. Of course, if you're joining us for the first time on the SNL recap, what we're going to do is talk through every single sketch from the show. We'll talk about what we liked and what we didn't like and give you a full recap of the entire show. And typically, our musical correspondent, James Keast, will join us. He is the editor of Exclaim magazine, but he cannot be with us tonight, so we'll have a little bit of a predetermined or a pre-recorded update that we will play when we get to talking about the Ariana Grande, Rich.
Oh, good.
Okay, great. And so, Rich, one last thing I just want to tell people about before we jump into talking about the episode, what you could do to really help us out here at the start of the season, if you could leave us your comments and your ratings on iTunes for our subscription feed for the SNL podcast. Of course, you could also subscribe to this dedicated feed if you want all of our SNL episodes. You could do that at postshowrecaps.com/SNL iTunes, or you can click on the podcast tab on postshowrecaps.com. That'll really help get the word out about the new season of SNL recaps on our iTunes page at postshowrecaps.com/SNL iTunes.
Now, does it help if I comment on that, or is that okay? Good.
Everybody's comments help.
We're all in, yeah.
We're all in. Okay, so Rich, are there any big picture things you want to talk about before we head into season 40?
Sure. I mean, let's the quick recap. We lost 3 cast members. We are coming into the new season with 2 new cast members. Michael Che at the update desk and Pete Davidson as the featured player. And yet overall, it was interesting watching this episode fresh it still feels like a very new cast, even though many of these people have been on the show for a long time now. I think that's because there hasn't really been a breakout star yet, so it still feels like a very balanced cast. There's no kind of anchor to the show yet, so it still feels like we're sort of settling in. So that was interesting. And then the one thing I would say, as we start, and and I'll be a little critical, is that we know this every year. We've talked about this in the podcast every year. The season premieres of SNL are always really shaky. It's like opening. It's like the last preview before opening night. So we have to know going in, the writing's going to be a little bit weak. The performances are still a little shaky. They're shaking the rust off. They're getting back to what they do. So I'm going to give them a lot of passes on this one because it's the season premiere.
Okay. Who are the people that we lost from last season to this season?
We lost John Milheiser. We lost
Noel Wells.
Noel Wells. We lost Nassim Pedrad, who's doing the Mulaney show on Fox, and we lost Brooks Wheelan. So
yes.
We lost 4 people. So we lost, and we now have, which is odd because many of the people that they lost, like Brooks Wheelan and Milheiser and Noel, was reportedly because they acknowledged that the cast was too big. So we lost 4 people, but we added 2. And we're kind of thinking Leslie Jones is kind of a almost featured player at this point. She was in 2 sketches and on the stage saying goodnight. So it's almost like we've got 3 new people. So interesting that it's the cast is feeling just as large as it did last year.
And what about Mike O'Brien? Is he not in the principal cast anymore? Is he in the writers' room or is he gone entirely?
Oh, that's a good point. You know what? I didn't even realize that.
He was not in the intro. He was not in the credits.
Yes.
I actually watched it a second time to see, and he's not in there.
You're right. I guess I'd have to check the writing credits to see. I imagine he's probably still on the writing staff, but that's an interesting point that we lost him as well.
Okay. So yeah, 5 down from last season, plus 2, and then we'll see. We'll see who else shows up along the way. All right. So Rich. Also, another change, which we'll get to, of course, is the passing of Don Pardo, replaced by the former SNL star Darrell Hammond.
Yes, which I was very excited about on paper. I thought it was such a great move, although I think we've got some work to do. We'll get to that after the cold open.
Okay, let's talk about the cold open. And the Saturday Night Live decided to go with talking about the NFL. Seems like something that would be sort of ripe to be able to have some criticism about.
Yeah, well, clearly, no surprise here that we're starting with the NFL thing. So my first question is, as not a football fan, and I don't know analysis, clearly for me the standout of this sketch was the Shannon Sharpe impression. I thought it was such a fun character. My question to you is that a good impression of Shannon Sharpe, or is that just an invented take on the whole thing?
It's a pretty good impression. It's a pretty good impression. Out of anybody that you could pick to be a correspondent, I thought Shannon Sharpe was a little bit out of left field, but we know Jay Farrow does Shannon Sharpe as an update correspondent, so it made sense to have him do that. And then, also you had Ray Lewis in there, who, of course, has his own legal trouble and has been, is always like very prominently shown on ESPN as somebody who they go to about these things, and really does not talk about his own legal trouble that he has been in as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Very interesting. So, very interesting call that they would go into this doing not an ESPN kind of thing, but something else. So they take a weird left turn. I don't know if that was to get A.D. Bryant in or something, but I thought this was fine. The huge surprise for me is while this was fine, the Ray Lewis stuff I thought got old very quickly for me. Keenan is not so dynamic of a performer that we know what the joke is, but we're still waiting to see it because he's just so good, like Will Ferrell might do. So I thought it was fine. I give it a pass because I thought, well, they had to do something NFL. But then we had an extremely amusing NFL sketch way down the road after Update, which absolutely should have been the cold open. I'm completely confused why they did that.
I don't know. That's a good question because the second NFL sketch, I think you're right, was the superior NFL sketch. So I'm not sure why exactly they did that. Can you think of any reason? Did they really want to get, a feature spot of Chris Pratt as Roger Goodell?
This is a good question. I don't, maybe because Goodell was not mentioned. I mean, I think if you had done that sketch first, you could not have then done the cold open later in the show. It would have been too boring and too derivative. So it could have been that. It could have been that because there was all the costume changes. I don't know if any of that was pre-taped because they were changing wigs and mustache and stuff, and then changing outfits in between the two teams. So in the second sketch, they have been worried that it would have been technically too difficult to try to pull off in the cold open. But the way it was written, I suspect that it was written as a cold open, and they just chose to move it for some reason.
Okay, what do you think about Baby 80 kicking off the show?
You know, I love Baby 80. I thought the character was a little bit whatever, but, her, she gives a nice, solid, from the diaphragm scream of Live from New York. The joy on her face when she says it, just, it got me super pumped up.
Did you think she seemed nervous in the opening sketch? She had a couple of flubs
She did,
starting off the show.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely attribute that to sort of the nervousness of being back, back again. We saw, unfortunately, Chris Pratt had a number of flubs and actually, unfortunately killed a couple of the jokes in the cold open, which, again, we've talked about this last year. There used to be an unwritten tradition that you didn't have the host in the cold open unless they were an alumni, and I think that there was a really good reason for that. You keep them focused on the monologue. You get their pregame show just focused on the monologue, and then they'll be in a bunch of sketches. And they didn't do that. I don't know why they just didn't have someone else play Roger Goodell. And I think it hurt them because I think that Chris Pratt, who I really like and I think did an admirable job, he was very nervous in this. And then as we're going to see in the monologue, he was really nervous and somewhat unprepared. And they should have had him backstage just rehearsing that monologue over and over again until 11:35 a.m.
Okay, let's get into the introductions and the cast. What would you call this part where that Don Pardo used to do?
Yeah, the intro, the credit sequence, the cast intros, sure.
Okay, and so let's talk about this. So, Rich, I know you said you had some thoughts on Darrell Hammond's first time doing this as Don Pardo's permanent replacement.
Yes. Well, I would say, and I'll preface this with, I think I think Darrell is going to be great at this. I think it was such a great call because, he's still the longest tenured cast member in all of Saturday Night Live history. And as some people might know from the obituaries of Don Pardo that we used to talk about on the show, when Don was ill and could not do certain weeks, they would often have Darrell Hammond do a Don Pardo impression to fill in for him. So the spirit's perfect. What a great job for Darrell Hammond. And in interviews when Darrell got the job, he specifically made a point to say, I am not going to do a Don Pardo impression. I am not going to try to be Don Pardo. I'm going to do my own thing. And I agree with that 100%. Unfortunately, by doing that, what got super lost is this show is live. It's supposed to be a party, and the way that Don Pardo has done it since 1975, part of his delivery is as if he were there, and he's not, but as if he were there in the studio yelling the announcements and the names of the people over the screams and the cheers and the band, so you feel like it's a sporting event, it's a live event. And Darrell Hammond came into this, Aidy Bryant, Vanessa Bayer, musical guest, and Ariana Grande, and it felt so pre-taped, and it didn't bring the energy that came out of Aidy Bryant, and it gave us no energy going into Chris Pratt. So I think huge adjustment has to be made on Darrell Hammond's part. I think that they'll know it. I think that they'll feel it. It's an easy fix, but we got to get that party atmosphere back, because that's why we're live.
Yeah, do you think it was just the volume, Rich, or do you think it was actually the delivery as well?
Well, I think it was the delivery in that he was trying not to do a big Don Pardo, but I think that he has to. And I would also imagine, I'm not a voiceover guy, but you're probably sitting in a quiet room. It's very quiet. They're rolling the credits, and you're talking to the mic. So it's got to be weird to be in this very quiet environment going, Taron, kill him. But I think he's going to find the energy and the delivery of, you are so excited to announce these people, and if it were me, I would actually say for at least for a few weeks, have Darrell Hammond do it live on the stage while it's going on, and if he makes a flub, that's okay, because I think Darrell Hammond is such a great performer. He would naturally find a rhythm, a cadence, and a volume that would make it work.
Yeah, why not? And could we use Darrell Hammond in the show? Like, let's say Hillary Clinton makes a run for president, and I'm sure we're going to have Bill Clinton involved. I mean, can we be using Darrell Hammond as Bill Clinton in the show?
Put the guy to work. I mean, they still got all the outfits.
It's on the payroll.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately, I don't even know if he's there. He could be, as Don Pardo was doing pre-taping all this stuff from his home, which wasn't even in New York, was in the Midwest somewhere. So Darrell Hammond's deal could be even that. So I don't know, but I think if they asked him to come to New York and stand on the stage and do it live, and even potentially cutting to him at the end before the host comes out. That would be, imagine if we do Ariana Grande, our guest is Chris Pratt. Ladies and gentlemen, we then cut to the stage. Instead of starting at the clock and coming down, we start on Darrell Hammond in with the band saying, and now your host, Chris Pratt. Throws it to Chris Pratt. The door opens as Chris Pratt. Oh, my God. Does anyone have Lauren Michaels' email address? I need to get this out there. I need to get this out there.
So you want Darrell Hammond to be like a literal master of ceremonies.
Yes. Oh, how great would that be? That would be a party. And it's a face we know and we love, and everyone loves Darrell Hammond. He should be there standing on the stage to open the show. That would be great.
Okay. So, Rich, once Chris Pratt comes out, I know you're not pumped up because Darrell Hammond didn't give you enough energy, but here's Chris Pratt for his monologue, and I felt like this was a little bit of a thrown-together monologue.
I think a little bit is an understatement. Yeah, I felt like,
now summer.
Again, and as we talked about last year, I think when we ended last season and I wrote my 5 ways to fix season 40 of Saturday Night Live, number 1 or number 2 on my list was bring in a team of writers just to write a monologue. Like, it's often been said in the oral history of Saturday Night Live, they don't even worry about the monologue till Friday night. I think it's one of the most fundamental flaws of the show. This is such a valuable piece of TV real estate, and we're throwing it away with a song. It's not rehearsed. Some of the jokes didn't even rhyme in their lyrics, and it was just like, okay, he was super endearing and super likable because he's that kind of guy, but I thought it was really just a throwaway kind of thing. Fun to see Anna Faris there, but I wanted to see Amy Poehler. I don't care about about his wife. I care about SNL alumni co-star of Parks and Rec. That was a bummer she didn't show up for the monologue.
Yeah. So yeah, we did get to see Anna Faris. Any mention of Anna Faris hosting Saturday Night Live?
I imagine. I mean, now that she's on Mom, I would imagine that she'd be certainly someone who they would look to again. And I got.
Has she hosted?
She's hosted twice.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so we've seen her before, always does a solid job, ends up playing a lot of stoner characters, no surprise there. But she's always solid, and they obviously like her. And I would think that if Mom does well, they'll probably have her back.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting list to see. How many married couples have hosted Saturday Night Live?
Ooh, I like that. That's interesting. I don't know, but I'll...
Interesting trivia question.
Can we get that going in the comments section somewhere? I'd like to let's get a comment thread on that. That'd be fun.
Well, sure. And also, yeah, in the comments or in the chat room as we go. Let's take a couple of comments about between the monologue and the introductions. This is from The Real BG Low. Says, definitely missed Don Pardo on the opening credits. Yeah, I was sad when it happened, but then I was kind of sad as well about that. And, of course, Antonio Mazzaro says, of all people, Darrell Hammond can't do a Don Pardo impression. Woof. Now, again, he might have been trying so hard not to do a Don Pardo impression.
Yeah, as I said, that was specifically what he said in an interview he was intentionally not going to do. He'll make it his own. He's got, let's assume he's hired for 40 years, which seems to be the contract for announcing SNL. He's got a lot of time to figure it out.
Okay, also, Brendan Noel tells us on Twitter that Mike O'Brien got Tim Robinson. He's back to the writer's room after 1 season.
Got it.
Okay.
Probably not a bad call.
All right, and let's just... one more. Actually, we'll wait and come back to this one later on when we get to weekend update. Okay, so then we come to our commercial parody, and it is for a little something called Turnt.
You know, this show will tell you how old I am, that I had no idea what turnt was. I'm on UrbanDictionary.com while I'm watching this sketch.
Yeah, Rich, I have the definition here from Urban Dictionary.
Bring it on. Let's get everyone up to speed.
Turnt, according to Urban Dictionary, my go-to resource for anything that I don't know about, it says, it's the most wonderful feeling in the world, sought after by the biggest bosses and ballas. It can only be achieved when all five senses are stimulated to their fullest extent. The links between these senses can cause the human brain to experience supernatural side effects, thus creating the only way to reach maximum swag.
Bala!
Was that like a Derek Big Brother callback?
Yeah. That was a little Derek callback. Yeah, I know. I'm crossing the streams here, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, this was a fun opening. It was a fun idea. 80 Bryant, other than our cold open, really is sort of falling into this type. I mean, she really has become the standard. That it's the baby 80 character, which we're gonna see, again in the show. But fun. I probably would have found it more fun if I knew what turnt was when I was watching it, but it was easy enough to connect what it would likely mean and stuff. Same joke over and over again, which I'm okay with. But as a commercial parody coming out of the gate, I thought it was pretty solid. So it was a fun way to start the day.
Number one commercial parody coming out of the summer, though?
I mean, again, I give them such, I bet that they originally planned for the Marvel thing to come first because it would have been such a cleaner tie. Chris Pratt just talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, way more production value in that one, but it didn't land that well after the initial joke. So I bet they sort of swapped it up after the dress rehearsal.
Okay. Then let's talk about the first live sketch of the night, and we have Kyle Mooney as the kid who wishes his toys were alive.
Yeah, I love the idea of this. I think that this is a good, solid premise for a sketch. I thought everybody in it was good. But it was this is one of those sketches that I felt like if it had been recorded and edited tighter would have been way funnier. The liveness of it left us with a lot of pauses, but Taran Killam and Chris Pratt patting down each other's nether regions, very fun, very funny. So I thought it was decent.
See, I thought it was fun. I liked how they brought in He-Man and the Thundercat. I thought that was a good start. But then I felt like this sketch should have been, 10 other toy characters showing up there and, really being like all the toys came to life. And I felt like it was a little bit of a letdown. For sure, you had those two, and then Ariana Grande shows up. And then that was it.
Yes. And I will say, and I understand from what people said during Big Brother that Ariana Grande was on a Disney Channel show, so she is an actress. But there was something about maybe she was added last minute, maybe she was nervous, but I felt like once she entered the show that it felt less like a sketch and more like a skit. It felt like they just threw a costume on her and threw her out there, and she kind of waved her sword around and maybe said a line and walked off the stage.
Yeah. Rich, I also was very interested because they say that there's a thing where Ariana Grande, you don't ever see her from the one side, that she doesn't let you shoot her from one side, but it looked like the side that supposedly she doesn't let you see. I think that was the side that you were seeing in that sketch.
Yeah, I think so. I noticed one of our friends on Twitter had called that out during one of the songs, and I was watching back a little bit, and it looked to me like, as you said, that they were showing both sides of her face.
Yeah, so maybe that's just an urban legend?
Maybe she can control many things in her life, but not the power that is Saturday Night Live.
Maybe. And so more on Ariana Grande when we get to the musical performances. But what did you think? Any funny jokes from this sketch where the kid wishes his toys were alive? I certainly liked the business with cake. the stuff with the sister stuff. I thought it was all funny.
Yes. Yeah, as I said, they're sort of them patting down each other's groins, and I like this. I like this feeling. Definitely was a fun. It's certainly really fun.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll see if this sketch ever comes back again. Do you think that there will be more of this, Rich?
No, I bet that we've seen. I think that probably is what it is, and we're going to put the toys back in the box for Saturday Night Live.
What do you think of Mom coming back and that being the ending of the sketch, that Mom left with all of the action figures?
You know, very much, again, it's that 80 Bryant. She does it well, but it's a, oh my, and then kind of like, getting her, and then calling out, Ariana Grande to join her. Fun. I think 80's got to be careful that she's becoming a caricature, that whenever she shows up, she's almost going to play one of two characters. But a fun ending, definitely a fun ending.
Yeah, she does like the George Takei thing.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's either she does like the meek part, like the person she plays on the Girlfriend's Talk Show,
Right.
And then there's like that like middle level of the where she's like taken with the action figures, and then there's like the Baby 80 character where she's like rapping and like Street 80.
Yes, and I feel like often the first and the third are tied together with some kind of a turn, usually with the phrase "mama like" or some version of that. That or "you've been tonked," one of the two. I'm not sure which. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So then let's go to our veterinarians, Rich.
Do we have to? Could we? Like the state of the animals who checked into the hospital, I think that this sketch was also dead on arrival. This was really tough.
I know a lot of people didn't like this one, but I really was tickled by the repeated use of the phrase "birdered."
That was great. That was really, really good. I thought that was good. And then the callback to the at least he wasn't turtled was very fun. Yeah, we've seen the sketch before. It's usually at 12:55 in the morning. I don't know why we felt the need to bring this back. It never did well it late at night in prior seasons, so odd to bring this back. And clearly, I don't think that it worked, and it just felt like it went on forever. So, yeah.
How long ago have we seen this?
Oh, I'd have to do a little looking. I don't remember.
Okay, I just did a quick Google, and it looks like from November of last year, and I'm not sure who the host was from this one.
I can't. My computer can only stream this.
Yeah, from
every room I walk.
Yeah, pop-up ads. All right, so we'll figure that out in the comments. But yeah, I know everybody hated it, but I really enjoyed the birder.
That was a great line, clearly. And I always say, even with some of the sketches that I think really missed, there's almost always something to laugh at.
Yeah.
So I think that was clearly the thing.
Rich, and I have in my notes here, what's this? A Bobby Moynihan sighting?
Yeah, well, he had a couple. I mean, I thought he had a really. I'm trying to think. Oh no! Up to this point, you're right. We probably don't have that.
Yeah, we haven't seen him yet.
Yes, so a very fun to have him show up. Again, odd that he in most of the night he's really been playing the straight man, which is odd because Bobby Moynihan used to be so good at the weird run on, say something really over the top and run off again or whatever. So it's odd that he's kind of being the straight man in a lot of sketches.
How did Bobby Moynihan get time off from his job at the Quiznos to be on Saturday Night Live this week?
Very strange, very, very strange. So, but I love me some Bobby. I always love him to death. But very odd that he's in a weird role. He's not. What's going on there? Who did he annoy to be in this situation? I don't get it.
Yes, the great Mike Bloom in the chat room. Give it up for Mike Bloom. He told us that the last time they did the veterinary hospital was the Josh Hutcherson episode, which was the one episode we didn't podcast about last year.
That's right, exactly.
That's why we had such a tough recall of it.
Right.
But yeah, so that's where they did it before. That is right. The 23rd. Okay, so let's talk about the Marvel sketch, Rich.
Yes.
What was your take on this?
Well, it's very hard for me to comment specifically because, behind the curtain of the world of Rich, I was already working on a sketch with a close friend of mine for YouTube that would have had this exact same premise going into it, that Marvel can't fail. So I was watching it as the blood was draining from my face, and I was imagining like a week of work just being flushed down the toilet. So I'm proud that I had the same idea that some of the top writers at SNL had, but I was very bummed. That said, I thought the premise of, you know what, no matter what Marvel throws at you, they can't fail. Great idea for a sketch. And I thought it started off really strong. Like, we picked random words from the dictionary. It's like a baker, and they're just going through stuff. And I thought it was really nice, great production value. But then it just became the same joke over and over and over again, and I felt like it really lost all steam because they failed to be surprising, and we didn't get anything fun after that first theoretical show.
Yeah, I do. I loved every time they kept going to the music. That tickled me. But yeah, I felt like they were sort of just like not really going over the top. And to end on Marvel's Star Wars, it's like,
yes.
It's like, yeah, that would be a big hit.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a fantastic movie. So
and people would be very excited for Marvel's Star Wars. It would be like if it was like Marvel, like Murder, She Wrote, then it would be something that people would not be excited about. But if the premise is that Marvel can't fail, it shouldn't be Star Wars can't fail already.
Right.
Without it being Marvel.
Yeah, and I felt like it was just a throwaway visual joke that wasn't actually a joke of just like seeing men playing Princess Leia. That definitely did not work for me.
So did you like Winter Pam?
Yeah, I did. Well, I liked the Pam. I thought that was fun. And then Winter Pam was definitely cute, yeah.
Yeah.
Although it kept reminding me of Jean, and now it's a whole thing with Jean.
Does she have a cough?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So,
oh, my God. All right. Is it time to talk about Ariana Grande?
I think so. I think we got our first Grande sighting.
Okay. Well, Rich, let me just tell you that just to give you a little peek behind the curtain over here, I'm not totally on top of the musical works of Ariana Grande, but there's one thing I know. She's got a big hit song, and that song is called Problem. And I'm all ready to hear, all right, let's go. Here we go. Hit song time, Ariana Grande, Problem. Let's do it. And I was very disappointed.
I thought, it's funny that I had that. I knew that she had that song, but it's so viscerally tied to Old Man Tackenberg brain. Young kid, which song? Is it Iggy Azalea? I don't know one from the other. They're all kind of the same to me. But then when the others, I'm like, oh, I guess I was thinking of. I literally thought, oh, I must have been thinking of another young female singer. I thought so. I didn't connect it, but I had the same feeling.
Yeah. Let me just go back to that. I know Johnny DeSilvera had a comment about the Marvel song or the Marvel sketch. He said, "So when is Marvel making a movie on the hosts of PS recaps?" Oh, that would be fantastic.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like it. Yeah.
So as far as Ariana Grande goes, yeah, I'm very excited to hear the Problem song, and she's not delivering on this.
Right.
Now,
so,
do you think that they had a vote? That they were going to let America choose what song that Ariana Grande was going to sing, but Frankie Grande nixed it and said, no, don't sing the song that Rob wants you to sing.
Yeah. I think we all he was voted off the block, which is a bummer. It's a bummer, yeah.
Yeah.
And with Ariana Grande, by the way, because I don't really know that much about her, I've heard the songs and stuff, is she 13 years old?
No, I believe she's 20.
That I was looking up a little bit because I was so stunned because she just seems so diminutive and so young that when she was born, Dana Carvey had already left Saturday Night Live.
Okay.
That's how young she is.
Actually, 21. Scott St. Pierre is on top of this.
Yeah, so it was that she is younger than Dana Carvey's tenure on the show. That is really scary to me. That's young. Yeah.
Yes. All right. Also, Rich, I had a hard time understanding what Ariana Grande was saying.
I have no idea. Well, I think the lyrics of the piano part were something along. I don't have the exact words. It was basically like, "Look at me, I'm not lip syncing. Look at me, I'm singing live. I'm not lip syncing like all the other girls." I don't know if those were the exact words, but it was something like that. And then she went off to the other side of the stage, and I think she then just started lip syncing or doing something. I don't know what was going on over there.
All right, let's take a comment from you guys from Terry Lynn Winnick, who says, "Oh no, I watched SNL because of Frankie, LOL, but I couldn't understand what she was saying at all." So yeah, Terry Lynn agrees with me.
And by the way, nothing for nothing, but just as us old-time SNLers, how odd was it to see the stage that is reserved purely for musical performances just being an empty box? There's just no band. There was no set pieces. It was just very odd. It looked like they were in like a 90-seat black box theater doing a little musical dance for their parents or something. Very odd to see that. Anyway.
All right, well, let's go ahead. That we got a update from James Keast, our musical correspondent, and I asked him about why Ariana Grande didn't sing Problem. I asked him, what's her problem? And he gives us his theory why in his musical update segment. Here's James Keast.
Thanks, Rob and Rich. Sorry I'm missing the season 40 debut, but when you hire a Canadian correspondent, there's a good chance we're going to be playing hockey at some point.
Okay.
This week on Saturday Night Live, Frankie Grande's sister has 99 problems, and Iggy Azalea not showing up is one. That's my guess why she didn't perform her signature summer hit, Problems. She did get Toronto's Abel Tesfaye, a.k.a. The Weeknd, to sing his part of Love Me Harder. But to start, she went with her other summer hit, Break Free, with the slower piano opening before getting to the hook. I have to say I was impressed by both her singing and her ability to dance in 6-inch heels. And I didn't know somebody was workshopping a Star Wars musical in New York, but I liked the Luke Skywalker dancers. The guest appearance by The Weeknd for the second song, Love Me Harder, was great, I thought. Both he and Frankie Grande's sister have great voices. I have to say, I cannot explain his hair. That is not a Canadian thing. Just wanted to leave by saying happy birthday to Dominic. I'll talk to you guys next week for Maroon 5.
Okay.
Great. Well, that explains it. He had the insight that I would not have thought of.
Yeah. So okay. So no Iggy Azalea. She was not there. So maybe that's why they didn't go with the problem.
Got it.
Okay. Are you excited for Maroon 5 next week, Rich?
What was next sketch? What's next on the lineup? No, I don't care about Maroon 5.
Oh, are you a Maroon 5 hater?
No, I'm a Maroon. Yeah, I liked their first album, which was 37 years ago, and then I've just keep hearing versions of that album. I don't know what's going on. I like him on The Voice. I find him to be very engaging on The Voice.
I always feel like it's weird when somebody has hosted the show, but then comes back as the musical guest. It seems like a step backwards for Adam Levine.
It is. I feel like it's a little bit of a demotion. We just saw that with Katy Perry last year, which was odd. But it's. But I think maybe he doesn't care. Maybe he just wants to come on, promote his album, and get out.
Okay, let's talk about Weekend Update, because there's a lot of meat on the bone here on Weekend Update. Now, we didn't talk about it too much at the top of the show, but changes for Weekend Update heading into Season 40.
So, big news over the summer. I talked about on Twitter a lot, that they demoted Cecily Strong and brought in Michael Che, who, as has been discussed, was brought on last year as a writer, wrote a couple of the bigger black sketches that were discussed about were they racist or whatever, but did some really great writing on the show, and then left Saturday Night Live to become a correspondent over at The Daily Show. So didn't think again. Lord Michaels came out and said openly that they tested a number of variations. They tested a lot of different people and different variations, and this is the one that they felt strongest with and decided to go with. And obviously, it had nothing to do with Cicely, and she remains, a major cast member. So, right out of the bat, and I've said this before I felt that she got a bad rap, and I think that she was actually doing really good work towards the end of last season on Weekend Update, and I'm bummed for her because I think that she sort of got the rug pulled out from under her. I think that if they had kept her in the slot, she would have continued to grow and would have been someone who was very, very good. If she wants to be in more sketches, that's great for her, but I'm sure that wasn't her choice.
So what would you have preferred to see? Would you have preferred to see just leave it alone, Colin Jost and Cecily? Would you prefer to see Colin Jost pulled and have it be Cecily and Michael Shea?
Well, I don't think that watching the girl, the girl at the party who we're going to talk about, I don't know that her and Michael Che would have been the best chemistry together, although it's hard to say because it was Che's first time out, so we got to cut him a lot of slack. I was not in any way a Colin Jost hater. I know a lot of people were really on him about just being a cut-rate Seth Meyers. I feel like he's doing a serviceable job, but if I was going to mix it up, I would have kept her and I would have gotten rid of him.
Did you feel like that adding Michael Shea is a vote of no confidence for Colin Jost?
No, I don't think so. I think that pulling her and just having him do the show alone would have been weird. I also think, not to take away from his talent, because he's a very funny stand-up comedian and I think he's going to be good at the desk, I think that they really are embracing bringing more of a multicultural and diverse, tone to the cast. And I think we're, beyond the obligatory, we had to go out and hire a black woman because we were sort of held our feet to the fire. I think that they're really embracing it, and I think that is good. And I think that there were a couple of jokes that Michael Che did that I don't know that a white male could have gotten away with, about Obama being black and stuff like that. So it was a smart move as well. So I think it's good, and also very weird. This is the first time we've had an African American host Weekend Update as an anchor, and the first time that two men have ever hosted, which I think was the weirder energy for me. Two men made it a very masculine kind of energy to it, and I don't know that I necessarily like that. I hope that we see a lot of female reoccurring characters show up to balance it out a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was great synergy between the two of them.
No, I don't think so. And I think that they needed saving last minute, which we'll talk about as we go through some of the bits that they did, because I think that Kenan Thompson was thrown in to actually save their bacon on something that wasn't working at Dress.
Okay, so let's start with the girl you don't want to start a conversation with that you ran into at the party.
I was really bummed that they started with this, because I felt like this was a, hey, look, we're still friends with Cecily. Like, hey, we broke up, but we really are friends. See, we're hanging out together. And it felt almost condescending to just start with her right out of the gate. Even if she was in the first show, but she was the third guest or something, it would have been better. So I thought it was a really weird choice. And nothing against her or the character. Clearly, we saw Cecily Strong was the first person we saw in the Cialis ad right after. She was in the first live sketch, So they're clearly made a point to show her, to say, this is not a demotion, but I wouldn't have started with this. That said, it was funny. It was fun.
Yeah.
I liked it.
I don't love the girl you don't want to talk to at the party.
Well, I think that, like the girl you don't want to talk to at a party, I really enjoyed her first two appearances. And her third appearance, I wasn't totally sure why I was still interested. And then her fourth one, I kind of wanted to get out of there, like the person she's talking to at the party. I haven't seen her enough that it was okay, but I don't think that this is going to be... I don't think when we start doing the power rankings for our guest correspondents that this character is going to be up there.
She's back. I thought probably the best joke she had was when she took the selfie with Michael and said how her dad was going to hate the picture.
Yes, that was very funny. Very funny.
That was probably pretty good. All right, So then we had the return, Rich, of Leslie Jones, who last season, of course, had the big controversy where she talked about how she felt like she would have been better off in the days of slavery because they would have bred her with the hottest slaves. And now, again, more talk about her sad dating life.
I was so happy that they brought her back, just from an unapologetic standpoint of, we think she's funny, some people thought it was racist, that's their issue, we're backing her. Great energy. Obviously, the material was generally watered down, but I just love the idea of her talking about Ghost Whisperer on Ion. That made me scream in laughter. For the 8 people who know what the hell Ion is, it made me laugh, so perfect.
Yeah, that's very funny.
And great energy. I mean, that's the energy that you need when you're coming on as a weekend correspondent. You need that, or some version of that kind of energy. So I'd love to see her on more, and just great job. Really fun.
Yeah. What would you think of if it was Weekend Update with Colin Jost and Leslie Jones?
That would be interesting. That would be that would be an interesting thing. I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, I'm very pro Leslie Jones. More Leslie Jones.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Okay, here's a comment on Leslie Jones from the great Mike Bloom. Is Leslie Jones taking the Al Franken role of a writer who occasionally appears in sketches?
Well, the fact that we're going to see her later on in a sketch, as we said, and then show up, on the stage for the Goodnights, clearly shows that she's got something going. Maybe this is the smarter move. Maybe this is what Mike O'Brien should have done in the first place, is not try to get the featured player slot, but just show up every once in a while. Obviously, it helps now that when they want to do something that involves, minority characters, that they can really start to populate, and it doesn't feel like we've got 2 people we have to go to every single time, but we've got a number of people we can go to. But smart on her. I think she can keep playing this, and really good for her.
Okay. All right, let's talk about our newcomer as well, who came on, and I thought probably stole the show on Weekend Update, Pete Davidson.
Yeah, really fun, really fun. I mean, clearly he's doing the piece. I've never seen this, but clearly this must be the stand-up routine that he's been doing for many years. Getting the whole thing together, and just redoing it on a Weekend Update. But really fun, really well paced, very comfortable on camera. You could tell he was having fun, and this is obviously very nerve-wracking for someone, but did a great job. So what will he do as a featured player beyond just doing stand-up and showing up in, roll call kind of sketches like we'll see when we get to our second SNL? I don't know. But in general, really fun. I look forward to more of this.
Yeah, the Pete Davidson thing is super interesting because, Rich, Pete Davidson is 20 years old. He is younger than Ariana Grande.
Oh, that is unbelievable to me. That is unbelievable.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Also, something else I read about him, that his dad was a firefighter that died in 9/11.
Yes, I heard about that, which is really interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
For a 20-year-old guy, it was just unbelievable. The poise did not seem nervous at all on the Weekend Update desk. I mean, you had A.D. Bryant seemed nervous opening up the show. Pete Davidson, she's been on the show 4 years. Here's Pete Davidson, is 20, was 17 years old when A.D. Bryant started on Saturday Night Live, and now here he is on Weekend Update, and he didn't miss a beat.
No, and many of the former, alumni who started as stand-up comics have talked about, even when you're doing a stand-up comedy piece that you've honed and workshopped and in your sleep, at the update disc, it's a different timing. You're now playing to a camera and an audience and a host. Everything's on cue cards. It might have been edited for language. It's very stressful, and he knocked it out of the park. Great job.
Yeah, really, really great job, and very fun to see exactly what he's going to come up with next.
Yes.
And so here's one of your comments about Pete. Real BG Low wants to say, how great was Pete Davidson? Even in the few sketches he was in, he brought a bit of a spark. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And
but go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and the other thing that I like about his casting, again, I'm getting a little meta and a little analytic, I don't know what nationality he is, and I like that he's clearly, it's not another white male, but he's not specifically like, he's obviously like the Latino guy, or clearly the black guy, whatever. And I like that we're really moving into this multicultural cast where it kind of just doesn't matter anymore, and we're just getting nice representation across the board.
Yeah, and if I know SNL, then Pete Davidson, now you won't see him for 3 weeks.
Exactly. No, that's his get. Although they are whorish in that it went over well, so I could see first back after the Bill Hader episode, we could see him back at the update desk.
I just remember when Lazy Sunday happened and Andy Samberg was like everywhere, and it was like, oh man, I can't wait to see next week what are they gonna do with Andy Samberg, and he was like barely in the show.
Yeah.
Lauren is like, okay, we'll see, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Yeah, exactly.
See how famous you are. Okay, let's talk about the closing bit here on Weekend Update, and that was the Obama things are going to get better. And Rich, the thing that struck me the most about this was that I can't believe that they went back to this song again.
Exactly.
From the Lena Dunham episode, we had this whole big segment about, ooh, child, it's going to get easier, and then here we are again.
Well, again, I know nothing. I have no inside information on this, but I guarantee you that up until the dress rehearsal, or maybe the one rehearsal before that, this was just a kind of like a classic two-anchor bit that was done like a really with Seth and Amy, where it was just going to be the two anchors, bang, 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 and it was energy-wise, these are not high-energy performers. These are not big animated guys. I think that they went, oh, this needs something, and they decided to throw him in at the last second. I mean, he wasn't even singing half the time. He was like singing, speaking. The timing wasn't worked out. It's a song we just heard. They didn't have an interesting costume for him. It was very generic. I think that they just threw it in like, well, if it's set to music and we've got something to cut to, it'll give it a little more energy. I think that helped, and it was probably the right call, but I bet that it wasn't planned to be like that.
Rich, you might know more about this than I would, but Taylor Cotter had an interesting conspiracy theory. She said that because SNL already paid for the rights to the song, that it was cheap for them to just use it again.
An interesting premise. I don't quite know how it would work, because generally those things, it's not even the same season, so it seems like that would be hard, but given that it's not a popular song, maybe. Especially that would make sense if this was really thrown together last minute, and they're like, we can't get the rights to a song. We're going on air in 3 hours. What are you talking about? And that could have been like, well, who do we have a deal? Who can we just send a text message to and say, hey, can we clear that song again for tonight? So that's actually a really great call.
Okay. Anything else from Weekend Update?
I couldn't quite hear at the end. Was there a sign-off? Did we get a new sign-off from the two of them? I'll be looking for that next year to see how we sort of wrap it up.
Yeah, I didn't catch that. Rich, I believe at this point they also showed a card for Don Pardo.
Yes. An odd place to put it, but still nice little acknowledgement of his passing.
Do you think that they should have done more for Don Pardo? I mean, he basically got the same treatment that like a guest who like when Whitney Houston died or something like that. That's traditionally like the spot where somebody who's hosted or been the musical guest, they just get sort of a card. After 39 seasons, shouldn't Don Pardo have gotten more than a card?
I absolutely think so. I think that if he had died when this show was on the air, they would have done something. There would have been at Weekend Update. They would have taken a moment to say something. I suspect that the reason they didn't do anything is because we have the big 40th anniversary primetime special coming up in a few months. I bet that they're going to give a solid 2 minutes just to Don Pardo. I think that they're thinking that's where we really pay tribute to someone who we care about, who we lost this year.
Okay. Rich, let's talk about coming back into the live sketches. The first sketch after Update was this dating battle rap between A.D. Bryant and Chris Pratt. What did you make of this?
I thought this was, and we see this a lot, especially coming back, after a long hiatus, really funny idea, really fun first third of a sketch, and then an amusing 2/3 of a sketch where we basically just redo the opening joke time and time again. Feels like it was written by someone who came up through stand-up comedy as opposed to somebody who, came up through sketch comedy, because we're just sort of doing the things again and again. But there was a lot of funny here and there. A.D. Bryant, again, playing the same character we've seen. It's kind of like baby 80s nerdy sister, and Chris Pratt did a nice job here. But overall, I thought it was fun with, as I'll mention as we talk about it, some really fun supporting players showing up here.
Yeah, I thought that A.D. Bryant was really great in her lyrics about her big fat ass. But I did feel like Chris Pratt a little bit went to the Ariana Grande school of lyric pronunciation, and I found that the disparity in the volume between what he was saying and Baby 80 was a big discrepancy.
Yes, and also because of their performances, it was a little hard to tell what the actual premise was, or comedically, because Chris Pratt was playing it like, I don't even know what's coming out of my mouth right now, and Aidy Bryant was playing it like, oh, I've become this person and I'm saying things so confidently, so I don't quite know what we as the audience were supposed to think. But still fun, absolutely. And my Bobby Moynihan sighting, again, as a straight man, so I can't say it was a scene-stealing moment of the week, but at some point he's like, did you just say I'm gonna plow through your panties like I'm running on diesel? What does that mean? Which I thought was very fun. That's where I love to see Bobby.
What did you like better, the guy reactions or the girl reactions?
Well, I would say, and again, I've always liked Vanessa Bayer, but I've never loved her. But this is what she does well, when all the gals are like, you go, girl, and they're this and that, and she had the, am I the only one who thinks Cheryl is hitting the ass stuff a little too hard? That is Vanessa Bayer, right, home run strike zone. That line, even though it didn't get a big laugh, I felt like if it wasn't for that line, the sketch was going to die on the vine right there. You needed that little thing that only Vanessa can do. So I love that.
Yeah. I'm a bigger Vanessa Bayer fan than you are.
Yeah. And also in this sketch, didn't you have the moment of, oh, that's right, isn't Kate McKinnon like the breakout star of last year? Where was she? Was she not able to show up until Thursday? She was nowhere to be seen this episode, except for this sketch and not even having a lot of lines in this sketch.
Yeah. Sometimes I just think they don't want people to get a big head.
Yeah, could be. Could be.
Like, all right, you're riding the bench on this one.
Yes.
You got too big.
Yeah.
Okay. So after this sketch, anything else on this one?
No, all good.
Yeah. What does Baby 80 say? Flirt my werp?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Okay, so then we have this sketch from the Good Neighbor crew, the roommate sketch. Now, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they do this sketch last year and it got cut?
Yes, they did. They didn't do this sketch, but they did this the general premise as a pre-tape that got cut.
Whose episode was that?
Oh boy.
Was it Andrew Garfield?
That could be. Yeah, that sounds right to me. It was definitely quite late in the season, so that sounds right. And it wasn't that funny then. I thought that this one was way better than what got cut. I thought that they tightened it. They kept it very basic. But maybe younger kids enjoyed it. I found that it was like, look at how funny we are being earnest. Some of it absolutely did make me laugh. The idea of him hanging out with the young kids was fun, but I could pass on this one.
A couple things from this one made me laugh. One, all of the establishing shots as they became increasingly more ridiculous.
Yes.
That was very funny. I liked all the audience reactions. I like a lot of the stuff where it's like anybody, like when Kyle Mooney says, we're in a fight. Like,
yes.
It's really on the nose. But I think my favorite joke that I really laughed the hardest at was, Chris Pratt is hanging out with all of the biker kids.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh man, like I wish we had a ball. And then it's like, well, I know where we can get one.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I like, are you mean you're gonna steal it? And the kid like lifts up his shirt and he has a gun. He's like, no, you are.
That was very funny. The gun was great. That was really funny. Yeah.
I really liked this sketch. I thought it was very funny.
Yeah. Well, and a little behind-the-scenes shout-out to the Good Neighbor gang. Last season when Beck Bennett and Kyle Mooney came on, they also hired the three of the four Good Neighbor guys were hired. They also hired their director, Dave McCary, who I'm sure directed this. They did not hire the fourth guy from Good Neighbor, Nick Rutherford or something like that.
Awkward.
And he was then hired as a writer this season.
Yeah.
So now the entire Good Neighbor team is on the writing staff, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons that we got a better version of this sketch.
Okay, let's take a comment from Mike Bloom. Has there ever been something as polarizing as the Good Neighbor sketches in recent SNL memory? I feel like people absolutely love them or hate them.
Oh, I think that's true of so many of the digital shorts. Certainly a lot of the last digital shorts that there were stuff that I couldn't even sit through. I thought were so boring and yet did well. I would also say you and I have often disagreed about a lot of the Mike O'Brien pre-tape stuff, the Bugs interview and other stuff that Mike O'Brien was doing that I wanted to gouge my eyes out, and I think you found to be funny. So it's I'd say there's a couple of stuff.
Okay, I think the entire Andy Samberg catalog is probably in that category.
I agree with that as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the second NFL sketch, and this time we had the player introductions, and it was funny because you kind of didn't know where it was going, but then there you go, and it was the all the player introductions, and they were announcing the crimes they had committed.
I thought this was a really funny premise. I liked where they went with this. As again, I said they should have opened with this. It was very reminiscent of the classic Key and Peele sketch. Except the premise of the Key and Peele sketch was just the names got weirder and weirder. Where this we had the crimes that they did. Again, it's the same joke over and over again, but I thought it built well. I thought the energy of people was great. Throwing Leslie Jones in as the wife of the guy was really funny. I thought even Colin Jost, as the place kicker, his crime was tax evasion or something like that. Like just layering, boom, boom, boom. So I thought it was really good.
Yeah. So which one did you have a favorite?
I think when Michael Che came on and he said something like, I don't remember the exact, but it was something like I'm guilty of assault from the great Iowa State or something.
No, the Ohio State University, because that's when they do those football introductions. I know you're a big NFL guy, Rich. That people that went to Ohio State, they always say, I'm Nick Mangold from the Ohio State University, and so they always do the pronunciation like that, and so. It's very, very funny. Very funny.
I didn't even know that it was a specific call out. I just knew that was very funny. I thought that to me, many funny things, but that really made me laugh. How about you? Anything that stuck out for you?
I'm just trying to remember, of course, the thing with Leslie Jones of that Keenan said, I hit my wife, and she's like, I hit him back.
Yeah.
I liked when Jay Farrow was the Somali pirate.
Yes. That was great.
That was good. Bobby Moynihan, I think he said he hasn't done anything bad yet, but he will.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I forget who was it that. Oh, I think it might have been Keenan. He overdosed on penis pills.
Yes, exactly. And then like Pete Davidson when he was doing like cocaine. I love cocaine. Like great energy. Really good job. Yeah. Overall, it's really fun.
Who sexted a picture of their ding dong to Michelle Obama?
Oh yeah, that might have been Jay Farrow again. I don't remember. Yeah, it was very funny.
And it was funny that they reused a couple people over and over again.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I think live. I don't think that was pre-tape because they were changing goatee, they were changing wigs. I don't think that was. I think that they just sort of did that. It definitely had the energy of a live sketch, not roll-in packages. So that was very fun. I love that. That was probably my favorite of the week.
All right. We already talked about the other Ariana Grande performance, and so the final sketch of the night, Rich, was what is it? Puzzle World 6?
Yes, Puzzle World 6. Yes, where we had Vanessa Bayer and Chris Pratt is in the game, helping kids solve puzzles and then making out awkwardly after puzzles were solved.
What'd you think of this?
Here's what I think. I think that Vanessa Bayer wrote this sketch. I think that at some point, seeing Chris Pratt with his shirt off late at night said, hey, I've got a hilarious idea for a sketch. What if I come up with the reason that you and I open-mouth kiss on camera? I don't have all the details worked out, but it'll be hilarious if I rub your body and you kiss me and fondle me. And that they basically worked this into a sketch. I thought it was fun. Yeah, I thought it was fun. I think that it's exactly what I want to see at 12:55 at night. It was a very clear premise. It built well. I thought everyone in it, Bobby Moynihan again did a really great job being the straight man to the sketch. I mean, a number of people being straight men though. And it kind of built well. When Keenan came in at one point, as the devil or something, I didn't know what he was doing. But then when they went to basically doing the ghost with the clay pot, I just was like, this is great. This is super silly, super stupid, but it all kind of works within the world that they created. Exactly what I want to see at 12:55. It gave me hope for the next couple of shows. Like, okay, they know what they're doing. They're back. They got the cobwebs out. Now we're just getting crazy, and I love it.
Yeah. There was an article, Rich, did you see this in Slate magazine about why the Saturday Night Live writers lean on Kenan Thompson?
I did not know.
So what the article was saying, and this is on Slate.com, this was written about it was this past week that went by, that the reason why the writers, why Kenan is in so much stuff is that if the writers are trying to make their sketch funnier, they insert the phrase "Keenan reacts" into the script, and that automatically makes the sketch much funnier. That they have things like Keenan acts out Price is Right theme, or Keenan fakes sign language behind the president, or just Keenan dies, and they just write that into the exposition of the script.
Love it.
And so I'm sure that's what happened here.
Yes.
That Keenan comes out
Yes.
and it does that. Who was the running the whole video game operation? Was it Taron Killam?
I think it was Taron Killam. Yeah.
I thought he was funny too.
Yeah, good, solid, straight man. I love that he's not breaking the character of what's going on. This is a totally normal thing to see. It's very good. Yeah.
Okay, Rich, how were the goodbyes for you?
Good. Ariana Grande felt very awkward to me. She felt not like it's just. I feel, and maybe it's because she's 21 and she did whatever, but she felt a little awkward. But good energy. Chris Pratt. Anna Faris jumps on. I don't know why she wasn't there from the beginning, because generally, if you do a cameo, you're there from the beginning. But
no Frankie Grande.
No Frankie Grande. I don't think it would have been great if they didn't allow him on the stage, but they did let Zach and Nicole and Donnie come on stage. That would have made my day.
I'd like to thank everybody that this was a great show tonight, and I really appreciate you having Donnie Thompson here.
Would have been great. Would have loved that dig, the final dig on Frankie Grande. But everyone seemed to be in good spirits. A lot of energy on the stage. Still, obviously, a lot of people because it's still a large cast. But really fun way to end.
Okay, Rich, let's talk big picture. Opening night of the season. What was your take on episode 1 of season 40?
As season premieres go, this was one of the better, without being great, season premieres, except, of course, when you discount season premieres that have alumni hosts, because then it becomes sort of a best of episode. So while there was a lot of misses in this and it got a slow start, I actually thought we had a really nice end to the show. I feel like the second half of the sketch was generally, second half of the show was generally pretty funny. We're getting back into the swing of things. We're getting used to some new faces. So while I wouldn't say this show on its own is a win, and will I watch this episode again? No, I won't. But I am heartened going into the season that we're on pretty good footing going into season 40.
I think it was a lot different feel than the first episode of last season where Tina Fey hosted. And while she was an alumni host, there were so many new faces. And I just remember is this a new cast member or a member of Arcade Fire? And it did feel like so much was new coming into last year. I feel like this isn't so much like, okay, first day of high school. This is more like, okay, this is like junior year, and we know everybody knows their way around the school, but there's one or two new kids.
Yeah, I would even take it further and say it feels like sophomore year, where we know a lot of the faces because we saw them last year. We saw them, when they were, in 9th and 8th grade, which was featured player. But we don't yet know who are who's going to be the prom king and the prom queen. We don't have the clearly established who's the cool kids in the school yet. So would have thought it would have been Kate McKinnon and Beck Bennett if we were just looking at like season finale of last year. They both had very low presence this year, so who knows what's going to happen. It's the field is wide open.
Let's take some of your questions here from as we've been going along. Let's go to Spicy Wasabi X, who said, didn't Brooks Wheelan have memorable bits last season? Are you surprised he was fired?
No, he didn't have many memorable bits. He had, I think, 2 Weekend Update appearances. The first one was rough. The second one was very funny and did a great job. I am surprised knowing that they then were going to hire Pete Davidson. So for whatever reason they made that change. I do wonder if maybe it was a diversity issue on some level. But yeah, that happens.
Okay. Let's go to Mike Bloom. What do you guys think of the producers pimping 80 over Kate McKinnon this episode?
Yeah, very interesting that there was a lot of that. I don't know if it's who's writing for whom or whatever, but I would much rather have seen more Kate in the show, clearly. So who knows what's going on? Okay.
This is from Chessie Ka, who says, did you think it was weird that Beck Bennett, Kyle Mooney, and Sashir Zamata weren't in the main cast list? Well, they can't promote everybody, right?
It was a little odd. I would have thought Beck Bennett would have gotten promoted because of the season that he had last year. He was sort of the go-to leading man over Taron Killam.
No promotions.
Yeah. So I wonder if that was the politics of people like Taron and Bobby who didn't get a lot of screen time actually kind of saying like, whoa, let's slow this down. So who knows?
Do you think they have that kind of clout?
I don't think that they can. I don't think that they can tell anyone what to do. But I think that if they were unhappy, Lorne would be aware of that. And I think that Lorne managing the politics without allowing himself to be managed is one of his great skills.
Okay, and let's go to Mike Ramone, who said, should SNL have thrown Anna Faris into a sketch, or was her monologue cameo enough and would have been too much if, say, they added her to the video game bit? I mean, I think this is a little bit like the Andrew Garfield episode when Emma Stone came up a couple times.
Yes.
Rich, what are your rules on cameos? Should they have used Anna Faris again after they used her in monologue?
No. They got this exactly right. Cameo is one and done. You do one cameo, you're out, done. Because truly, if Anna Faris making out with Chris Pratt, who is, I don't know if they're husband and wife or whatever their deal is, baby mama, whatever, clearly in a relationship.
I believe they're married.
Those two making out, not nearly as funny because they make out every day. They made out on the closing credits or whatever. So I say no. I think that it was very fun to have her in the audience. Seeing her again would have been like, oh, whatever. Vanessa Bayer was clearly the right call for that sketch.
Okay. Let's go to Real BG Low. Last question. Would love to hear Rob and Rich rank these weekend update could have been duos. Okay, we got 3 potential duos. Colin and Cecily, Cecily and Michael, or Michael and Colin. All right, what's the worst? So we got the 3 different combinations.
That's a good question.
Would we say that both Cecily combinations would be ahead of the Colin and Michael combination?
I think so. Yes. I think if I'm putting them there, I'm thinking. I wonder what the energy would have been like of Cecily and Michael. That would have been an interesting thing to see. I don't know though. I don't know how that would have worked. But I think that would have been interesting. Although I think Michael and Colin might. I think I would put them over Cecily and Colin, even though I don't blame Cecily in that mix. I just think when you're looking at energies and what will probably be chemistry working off each other, I think that Colin and Cecily might not have been the right fit, although I actually more blame Colin for that.
So the 2 Colin-Jost combinations would be the bottom 2 out of 3?
I think so. It's hard to say. It's really hard to say.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Rich, next week we have Sarah Silverman and of the previously aforementioned Maroon 5.
Yeah, and again, I would like to lie and tell you that I'm really looking forward to this combination because I do love Sarah Silverman, but I think it's going to be another tough episode. I think that Sarah Silverman's an interesting call. Obviously, she was a featured player for one season a long time ago, so she's not a stranger to the show. But I don't know that her energy is going to be right for the show. I think she'll have a great monologue, and then we'll see what happens. But I think, as is often the case with SNL coming back from a new season, this is just the final dress for what we will consider the season premiere, which is when Bill Hader returns to really just make the show sing.
Does Sarah Silverman seem like an odd call for hosting Saturday Night Live in 2014?
I like that they're going back to stand-up comics more. You know, it really has been, we've had very few stand-up comics except Louis C.K. and Zach Galifianakis. So I like that we're going back to the stand-up comedy well, even though she has had a show and stuff. She is primarily a stand-up comic. I'll be interested to see how she does. So I hope that we do more of that instead of just getting the, actor or actress from the latest blockbuster. Chris Pratt aside, because he's very funny, but as far as the dramatic actors who I think often don't work.
Also, we didn't touch on this, Rich, but I correctly predicted in our final show of the spring we took picks on who would be the first host of the season premiere of season 40, and I correctly said Chris Pratt.
There you go. Love it. This is why people need to be watching our podcast.
Yes, one of my better predictions that I've ever done. One of my worst was when I said that I thought that Derek was going to be out before the jury on Big Brother, but that, You can only be hot about so many things. Yeah, the Sarah Silverman thing is weird because she doesn't have any big project coming up, right?
I don't think she might
Not
be
a
in
movie.
a movie. Yeah, but no, I don't think she's being brought in because she's promoting. I think it's just they decided to go with her. I think they're mixing it up a little bit, and an interesting call.
Okay. Well, very, very exciting. Rich, one of the things I want to do for the kickoff of the new season for us is I also want to add a email address as a way to contact us. You can go ahead and send us emails during the week in addition to leaving us comments and sending us tweets at snl@postshowrecaps.com. snl@postshowrecaps.com. If you have some thoughts during the week that are more of a long-form thing, that probably wouldn't work in the comments, you can go ahead and send us your thoughts as well, and we'll try to get those into the show too, Rich.
Oh, love it, love it.
Good stuff. All right, so we will be back next week. I know I'm traveling next weekend, so Rich and I need to figure out the logistics, but this is going to be Sunday nights will be typically the spot when we'll talk about Saturday Night Live.
Huge update for you, Rob. I will be here.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Make sure one last time, I just want to ask you guys, it would be a big, big favor for us and would really help kick off the new season if you could leave us some of your feedback and comments on star ratings on iTunes. If you use the link postshowrecaps.com/SNL iTunes, give us an honest review and a star rating. We greatly appreciate that. That's going to help more and more people find the show as we kick off the new season. We'd love to hear your comments as well on postshowrecaps.com. And we'll be back next week. Rich, by the way, do you have anything that you want to tell people to check out this week?
I'm good. I'm good this week. Just check us out on iTunes. That's what I'm excited about.
Okay, follow Rich on Twitter. He's at Rich Tack. Of course, I'm at Rob Cesternino. Have a great week, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon.
Bye-bye.